Om Shanti everyone. Welcome to Ek Mulakat. I'm your host, Sister Jenna, and I'm from Washington, D.C., and these are very special segments in which we're going to feature the lives of incredible people who have all actually come from America. We're going to be talking about life, their experiences being in India, some of the work that they're doing, and also what is it that moves their heart, and how do they sometimes get out of situations that sometimes can be very challenging. We all know by now that relationships are one of the most biggest hurdles that we can ever endure, but they're also our greatest victory when we know how to work them through. We're producing and recording this in the Godlywood studio, and did you know that there have been over 225 episodes of this series? And with this special segment, we're inviting you, our audience, and our family members to expand your thinking and to try to see what can be new and what kind of a techniques can we develop as we learn from these extremely special experts that we have with us today. We have the amazing Angela Holton. She's been doing a lot of beautiful work called The Love Sanctuary, where her biggest endeavor is to find out how to love the self and to really deeply believe and accept oneself. Next to her is Dr.N.Saleem Hilton, an author of a book in which I have to get this right because it's a big book, The Spiritual Journey to Universal Consciousness. And next to Dr. Saleem is his beautiful wife, the wonderful and amazing Reverend Ivy Hilton. So first I've got to dive right into this. What in the world brought you to India? And I know I had something to do with it, but before we even get to that point, what was going on in your consciousness that you said yes to India?
Well, for me, it's been a calling for a long time to visit the ancient country of India. And so when your invitation came and I knew the group and the community that I was going to get to explore this place with, I said yes. And it brought up a lot for me because I've heard so many wonderful stories, some stories that brought up a lot of fear for me, actually. And it allowed me to work through it and show up here and realize that you have to visit a place and see it for yourself and create your own perception of it than listening to the perceptions of other people. And I'm so glad I said yes and I showed up.
Isn't it interesting? Because we had a conversation over the phone and there were reservations and there were certain fears. Were you able to identify what those fears were, especially when it came on to India itself? Because did you feel that way when you went to New York City?
No.
Right.
And like I said, when I arrived here, nothing that I expected it to be. And even people's stories that they shared with me, it didn't resonate. I didn't connect with it. I was able to come and really show up and experience it for myself. And New York was a wonderful platform to prepare myself for India. Really. I mean, I even find India more organized than New York. You know, even in the chaos or there's peace, there's kindness.
Isn't that something?
Is just mind-blowing.
Can I tell you that's a powerful observation, because there is a kind of an organized chaos, as I said earlier, but there is a kind of a peace as well that somehow flows throughout that kind of an energy in the area. Thank you for sharing. Dr. Saleem, what is it that actually made you come to India?
Well, I think a large part of it is my imagination. I was always interested in cultures and what they call third world country cultures. And I had done a lot of studying about world religions and what have you. And I was always fascinated with the attire and how people conducted themselves, and it seems like in some sort of rhythm harmony. And then when I stepped off the plane and even at the airport, there was a sense of peace that I had imagined would be here, because Saleem means one of peace. And I've always gravitated toward peaceful environments and lifestyles. And so I always had imagined that India would be a place that was for me because it represented peace. And then just being here in what I refer to as the village heaven on earth, it has really validated everything that I imagined it to be. Just so much flow of positive energy. Everybody's trying to help everyone. It's just been an amazing experience, which really fit my imagination from the beginning.
Saleem, can I tell you how much that moved me when you mentioned that in our earlier conversation? Because when I first came, I had the same feeling. And I still do. But I have to tell you, when you hear it again, because, you know, you just don't hear it all the time because you're so saturated in it. that I thought about one of my struggles when I'm back in Washington, D.C., is that I want to see this there. But I know that without the people, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I've actually seen that here as you, and I just feel like this is what the world needs to see as a model. So the amazing Dr. Reverend Ivy Hilton, what brought you to India?
Well, of course, you know, you and your beautiful inspiration and determination and creativity, because we've been talking about this for...
Do you remember years ago we started to have this conversation
at least
about doing something in India?
Yes. And then I was really intrigued when you talked to me about this fabulous recording studio here. And of course, that really inspired me and got me really excited. And the reason is that I think most of my life I've been connected to India, although I didn't know anyone from India. But what started happening to me is musical instruments from India kept coming to me. And when they came to me, no one had to teach me how to play them. I just started playing them. And I love my tambura, which I call her the strings of my soul. And when I play the tambura, I feel Indian. When I used to have my hair long and wear my hair back and
well, isn't everyone Indian? I mean, I just have to say that, especially us coming from the U.S., wherever Christopher Columbus went to explore, they found an Indian.
Oh, yeah,
They found an Indian.
Yes, yeah, they did.
Right?
They did.
Well, I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we had a wonderful performance by Reverend Ivy Hilton at the Brahma Kumaris headquarters, and she did an opera song on Om Shanti, and I'd like you to actually listen to this. All right, wasn't that an amazing track? Did you guys hear that? Did you get goose pimples like I did?
And tears.
Well, I tell you, we are about to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, Sister Jenna. And when I hear Ivy sing like that, I always cry. And tonight, after hearing her and feeling her performance and seeing her up there, I teared up again. And well, I mean, you know, for someone who's been with her, I've been her equipment man, her sound engineer, and all of that, right with her all this time. You would think that I would be accustomed to her performances. But I always say she never ceases to amaze me. Pretty much what I was feeling, it was just amazing performance. And it's no more amazing than others, really.
Well, let me tell you, the Indian audience is not an easy one to conquer, but when I started to hear everyone clapping, and when she started to sing in Hindi, which is a language of love, this feeling of, they call it in Hindi, bhavna. When you speak, you bring all of your feelings in what you say, and sometimes they'll say, English is dry. Now, you learned some Hindi while you were here. Was it easy?
It was easy.
Mite bolo?
Mite bolo. Divine love, something.
Well, you've got like powerful love, divine
supreme
love, sweet love, sweet love. Or sweet. And then I love the way you ended it. Speak sweetly, speak softly, speak less. And that was really gorgeous. We just have to turn on the television and we just like, I can't get it. You know, I was passing by Saleem the other day and he had a little bit of something going on his phone with the news in America. And I said, right here, you're going to do it. What would you say we could transport from India to America to make India a little bit more sweeter, kinder?
I was saying, if we could just bottle it up and package some of the people and just drop them somewhere where it would resonate. When you think of an atomic bomb, instead of the destruction, that it would create a wave and a vibration of love.
I would like to have a video of some of what we experienced over the past few days and take it back to Congress and do a formal presentation to those congressmen and women and show them that there is a way to live as opposed to lying, deceit, conniving, and all of those ways that they are practicing there in the States. And let them see that a country and a government can actually live in harmony and in peace. That's what I'd like to take back. So if you all want to produce that video and let me get on the plane with it next week, I would like to take something like that back.
Even the Minister of Justice, when he spoke, here's some of it.
Minister Misra.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was about, you thought I was coming to talk about law, and I'm coming to speak on spirituality.
Yeah.
If he could just talk to the ministers of justice and the attorney generals, and maybe they should have a summit, because that would change a lot of lives.
Me going back and being even kinder, you know, really bottling up what I experienced here and being that example back home. Because each time I'm with you, Sister Jenna, I learn more about compassion, about kindness, and, you know, everyone here sees you. They look at you and they make eye contact with you. And I realize I may not do that. And so it's giving me something else to take back home and be conscious of and practice.
You know how I had this this revelation of sorts, that as I was sharing this heaven on earth understanding based on my experience and the work that we do as trainers, I mentioned it to Ivy, I want to see how we can take some of this culture and some of this way of life and give it to the people that we work with in a subliminal way, where they get it without knowing that they get it. Because we do life transformation work anyway, but how we can add this to the transformation work that we're already doing, just because we have now witnessed this as a reality as opposed to something that we could only imagine. But now we know that it's a reality.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, and we have begun to incorporate the body awareness, soul awareness to the work that we do, so that people can begin. I think someone said it, and I'm not sure where I heard it.
Daddy Ratan.
Yes, talking about awareness, that we can address violence, we can address anger and hatred, not necessarily trying to convert someone's thinking and their belief, but to give them that opportunity to explore inward in a way of saying, you know, am I acting from my body awareness, or am I acting from my soul awareness? Am I into a soul illusion?
Yeah.
Or am I into the nature of my soul? And I think anyone can understand that, no matter what religious
culture or country
that's
you
right.
come from.
That's it. So
that's gorgeous.
We bring that back, but bring it back with a first-hand experience of what that looks like.
So you're triggering another question from me. India is one of the largest democracies in the world. America is a democracy. Both advocate that they're free. Feeling that as much back home anymore. And I know that, you know, there are the images of poverty here, and that a lot of people mention that when they come here. I've not seen it, maybe because I'm not seeing it from a perspective, because for me the poverty is of the spirit. You know, that's a different thing. When I see someone, I could say, yeah, they're in poverty. Yes, physically they don't have any food or water, so that's not right. So that's inhumane. But can you speak to what makes freedom different here in India versus the freedom that we have in the U.S.? Have you noticed that there is a difference?
Just from my experience of working in impoverished communities, I could see that those in the United States, and particularly in Washington, D.C., and certain communities in D.C., poverty has given people feelings of hopelessness, self-destruction, destruction of others, harm on themselves and one another, and has really impacted the mass incarceration in terms of the criminal justice and the juvenile justice system in America, which, as you all know, there are more people in prisons in the United States of America than any other country in the world. Poverty has a lot to do with that. And I have not really spent a lot of time here, as you know, but I just, even in my experiences in Africa, and I witnessed the children and the families in poverty, but they were smiling, they were happy.
That's what I was talking about, the poverty that I look for.
They were peaceful, they were free in their spirit. And the same there in America, they really are not free because their minds are in prison.
Energy, I think, is converted into a lot of anger. And, you know, as Saleem mentioned, there's mass incarceration. There's also disproportion of those people, Black, African-American men that are imprisoned. And as we know what's going on now, one of the perilous things happening in the States are black men are being shot by the police. So, you know, that's supposed to be our democracy, but yet our own justice system.
There's things that are happening. Yeah.
Black men. So,
yeah.
A lot of rage, I think, in the States.
A lot of rage.
A lot of rage.
Yeah.
Had to reflect on that question, and it came up for me yesterday after I came from the Ayurvedic Medical Center, and I was floating. I was floating down the street, and I was watching people coming and walking and going and sweeping, and realizing that that's freedom. And that even though we live in a free society, the only thing that's really free is that you might be able to go around where you would like to go, but you can't even really do that. So, you know, freedom is a state of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And here, this freedom is much more vast than freedom in America.
It's interesting because I look at it from the perspective of one of the things that I've taken from India is the deep connection to generations, the families. Like in one household, you have 3 or 4 generations raising children. And I think, I don't know what it is, there's something that's connected to a different kind of element of freedom. And I do see that there's a sense of accountability. Like you can't get away with too much because too much freedom without wisdom can imprison you, you know, and so I guess there's a balance. I think what I'd like to do is to move us into like our closing dialogue, because as we look at visiting India as a wonderful experience and what it is, what's in your heart in terms of your message or your blessing or your sweetness towards what you feel it has offered you so far in the short time that you've been here?
Well, you know, Sister Jen, I'm always looking for ways as to how I can love myself more, because that's where it begins, and how I translate that to other people. So again, it's the kindness. And if I witness that amongst themselves, I want to discover more kindness with myself, you know, and compassion, and bring that home and share that with people. And that's what I'm so passionate about, is really understanding what peace looks like, what freedom looks like, what it feels like, and embody that. And that's my message. That's my passion, is to inspire that.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Angela.
Took that kindness word out of my head because I found myself, using that term so many times this day over the past few days. I would tell people over and over, "You're so kind. You're so kind. You know, thank you. You're so kind." And I think that if I could convey a kindness message and have more of an act of kindness from my heart to people that I come in contact with, I think that's what I'm taking back from my experiences here, that real deep sense of kindness and how it doesn't cost anything to be kind.
Beautiful. Thank you, Saleem.
When you had her give me the course, and I've been a meditator since I was probably 15 years old and officially trained at 17 years old. So I've been meditating really my entire life. So when I met with her and experienced, and I've been coming to the Meditation Museum now for 5 years, but taking the course made a difference because of how to use the light for your own healing, cleansing, and purification, but also how to pour that out into the universe. So for me, I want to strengthen that and to add more so that I can teach others to do it.
Beautiful. I think each of you just brought so much to understanding what cultures offer each other and what cultures can do for each other. And I think that's what our conversation today did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can continue this conversation and go on and on and on.
Yes.
And as far as you're concerned, hope you enjoyed our chit-chat with these amazing experts from the United States of America on this special segment of Ek Mulakat. Now, don't forget that we are all over the world, and if you want some more information, please go to Godlywood Studios. They'd be happy to assist you in getting you subscribed, getting you updated, and also getting you elevated. Take care, everyone. I'm your host, Sister Jenna, and I'm signing out totally in a peaceful state. Om Shanti.